Hello, my friends, and our supporters, and our viewers, and all those who have been pushing this platform to places where it has never been before. I welcome you again to one of our Legacy Series candidates, none other than someone who is a brand, who represents a brand. And this afternoon, I would like to welcome none other than Miss Camille Hastick. And when you hear the name Hastick, it rings a bell. So, Camille, let me say welcome to the SosoBone Media Network.
Thank you for having me, Trevor. I really appreciate you having me join.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, over the last 40 years, the name Hastick has resonated in our Caribbean, I think, more than any other. I would think that when we talk about people who entertain governors and mayors in our community, the name Hastick comes to my mind. Okay? As a champion, as an advocate, and as a networker. Roy's favorite term was network works. And I've seen you in all different capacities standing by your father's side. So tell me, do you miss your father?
Ah, tremendously. I miss my father. And it's actually serendipitous that we are having this conversation. It's actually the day 6 years from his passing. It's the anniversary of 6 years now that he's been gone.
Uh-huh.
Tremendously miss him. I saw a picture come up on, sometimes you go into your phone and it brings up memories. It brought up a memory of a picture of when New York won, and Cheryl Wills gave a tribute to the passing of my dad on April 8th in 2020 due to COVID. So I was just looking at that yesterday and going through some of the photos from around that time, and my sister and I, and also mom having to deal with, getting the arrangements together, and having to perform something like that for someone with a huge personality as my dad, because one, we were in COVID and everyone was social distancing. So that meant that a lot of I don't know if you remember at the beginning of COVID, there were a lot of funeral homes that were closed. We
Yes.
weren't able to gather at all. So we weren't able to have a more fitting funeral or going home service for dad. We had a virtual, we had a virtual memorial for him that thousands of people were on, and it was hosted by then the borough president, Eric Adams at the time.
Well, I will tell you, I missed him also. But
Mhm.
one of the comforts that I have is that I have another Aztec to work with.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have a couple. You have me and you also have Renee.
Yes, I
So you have
know.
a couple.
Yes, I
Yeah.
know. I know. That is, he never left us empty-handed.
Not at all.
he left us
Not at
with a
all.
he left us with a bank account.
Certainly. Certainly.
Okay,
Certainly.
so so that
Absolutely.
so that now is where I think our Caribbean community is comforted. Okay,
Mm.
because unlike some names that disappear as time goes by, his name and the Aztec name I expect to grow as time goes by. Okay, so
Mhm.
I was pleased to see that you are in a public forum setting where where people see and you are connected to our Caribbean community, even as you are attached to the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. And let me say that I was pleasantly surprised and pleased that you are with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, as strange as it may sound, because I've in the past spent quite a lot of time with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and one of the persons who encouraged me to do that was Roy Astic. Because as he said, Trevor, network works. Okay, that was so he was not a he never try to keep you in a corner. He try to spread. Okay, so yes, so in your capacity, therefore, as a vice president of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, tell me, what role do you play and how do you execute it with so many other things that I know you're connected to?
Of course. So my role at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce as Vice President of External Affairs and Government Relations, how that translates into the community and what it is that I do is that I partner with many different elected officials, organizations that are members of the Brooklyn Chamber. Um, I perform advocacy. So that means in terms of policies that may affect small business owners in throughout all industries. So it's not just energy or real estate or life sciences. It can be economic development as it relates to small businesses and things like violations or other things and priorities for small businesses. In terms of advocacy, I lead a delegation of members to Albany twice a year. One to Albany in the beginning of the year, and then the other half to Washington, D.C., to meet our Brooklyn delegation in around November of that year. So we create an advocacy book that details our support or what we oppose as it relates to different industries and how it affects our members. So advocacy is very important, and also just relationship building the with the elected officials throughout the borough is also an important part of my job, and maintaining those relationships as well for the chamber. So I am pretty much a forward-facing, public-facing individual for the chamber. I speak on behalf of the chamber as well when permitted on certain issues or different policies, depending on what it is, what we're representing or not. If we approve of it, if we oppose, if we are in a space where we want to make that a public record keeping. Sometimes I do testimony, or sometimes it is a letter of support that I send out to organizations that send to that is sent to the state, sometimes to the majority leader, the governor, or the Speaker of the House, to also get them to understand our positioning as it relates to our members. So it's advocating for small businesses in that sense. And you had a second part of your question, was how do I continue to do that? And also continue to remain the brand that I am. As you mentioned, my father was a large influencer in the Caribbean community. What I continue to do in that space as well is to continue that legacy. And I can't take all the credit because it is between my sister and I. We work together to make sure that my father's name and also our mom's name continues on in the community. Because as you know, mom wrote the social work program at McIris
Yes,
College.
yes.
And so what we've done there is that we continue her legacy as it relates to her philanthropic efforts, and making sure that social work students had the opportunity to continue on in their education. So when mom knew that a student was having a hard time or maybe a hardship, mom and dad would give a gift to make sure that the students can continue on. Renee and I have formalized that process, and
Good.
I actually have a discussion with Mega Everest today to sign a contract for a student who will be receiving a $1,500 scholarship towards their continual education in the social work program and graduating from Mega Everest College this year. So we presented that. It was announced at the social work conference that she also created many years ago. This past um, this past March, they had their social work program conference, and it was presented there by Earl Simmons and Wally Boone, who were also underneath mom's tutelage. And it was announced that we would be presenting this scholarship to a student. So again, it is serendipitous that we're having this conversation, because as we continue to push that legacy forward and continue what they've done philanthropically or even in an economic social justice platform, we make sure that their names continue in the space and that they know that we continue their legacy to make sure that we serve the community the way that we can. And that means if it is helping to get another student to move forward in their progress in their education, especially in social work, we want to make sure that that happens for them in their name. So that's another way that I continue to um, make sure that the Hastick name stays in the community, that people know that we are here to serve the community and we haven't gone anywhere.
You give me goosebumps listening to you. I have interacted with Dr. Ida Hastick on so many occasions at Medgarvis College, way back to the 90s. Okay? So, yes, I am so pleased to know that part of the connection is still intact. Okay? Because it means that you're immortalizing her. Okay? And that is and our community will be comforted by listening to what you just said. Okay, because that is the dream.
Absolutely.
That is the dream of every parent. Okay, so when they see a representation or a mentor program, because what you're doing is providing an example for those of us who would like to see it happen, and knowing that it can work because they see it work. They see it working. Okay, because the dream, is always there, but when you see it is being realized, then it makes it easier for you to say you can do this too. Okay, so I am very, very comforted by those remarks you just made. Now,
Well, I'll go so far to say that it's also about utilizing the tools that are in front of us as well. Because if I wasn't aware of the being able to navigate government and just understanding how important it is and how important our civics are through, especially through my dad. He made sure that we understood the importance of our elected officials from city, state, and federal levels. And just having that awareness and understanding how to utilize that to make sure that the work that they've done continued on and it was memorialized. And there are ways to do that was also important. So making sure that, after my dad passed, that there was a street naming in his name along Flatbush Avenue and in front of the
yes,
project that he envisioned for decades,
yes,
to actually see that come to fruition, but yet he not be actually standing there to see the ribbon cut and walk through those doors, but being a part of every integral part of making sure that that project was done and bringing all of those private and public partnerships together in order to make this happen. It was one of the first projects that had a public and private partnership put together. And now you see the example happening all throughout the city, where you have other nonprofits and private organizations coming together to bring social justice themes and topics together with economic development and seeing how that can rise together.
yes. So that is the type of mentorship that is not personal but is community mentorship. Because the examples, we when we look back at where we are coming from, we talk about a Shirley Chisholm, we talk about Marcus Garvey, we talk about a Colin Powell, and we talk about other people who have gone before us. And as we look around and we see, and we talk about a Grenada, and now we have a Camille Hastick or a JW, and we know that our community is growing, balancing, okay? And that again brings comfort to our people because we do not want to look too far back to find people who are representing us. I don't want to go all the way back to Marcus Garvey. I want to go 6 years, 7 years back to Roy Hastick. Okay?
Yeah, it's absolutely staying current in what's happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we talk about the Caribbean and the diaspora right now, right,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about infrastructure and what's happening in climate wise as well, climate change.
Yes.
So we talk about those issues. I was just on a panel in Albany with with Assembly Member Monique Waterman, Chandler Waterman, and also Assembly Member Jamie Williams, who gave me the distinct honor to be a part of the panel on a discussion about climate change in the diaspora and what that means for the Caribbean in itself. It was a really good um, discussion to just talk about the different environmental needs and also just the infrastructure that's happening on the islands. I particularly like to see what's going on in Grenada. That
Mm,
is where my mom and dad are from.
yeah.
And seeing that, seeing all the development that's happening right now with the prime minister, um, has only encouraged me. I recently saw that they are putting a new hospital on the island, and making sure that they keep the talent that they have in the university. They have a huge um, medical school on the island, but making sure that that pipeline stays on the island is also important. And then also making sure that we utilize the snowbirds that go back from the States to the Caribbean have adequate, healthcare as well. So seeing all those dynamic things happening there is also some encouraging things, and just staying current to the what's happening on the islands and is also important. Everyone should have that education.
You know, every time we look at our community, we are always looking for inspiration. And I say that because when someone does something bad in our Caribbean community, it reflects on us so much. We are so upset, okay, when we see examples that does not represent us. And sometimes we do not showcase the examples that enough, the examples that represents us. And
Mhm.
I'm saying this because as I speak about the legacy series that we're putting together, most of our people are younger people who we are making visible to our community. Because again, as I says, it brings them comfort. Okay, because we worry about the future. The past is gone.
Mhm.
Okay, we worry about the future and whether or not we have enough advocates, enough soldiers, enough activists, enough representatives to protect the next generation. Okay, so as you speak about what is happening down in Grenada, I'm sure that the Spice Island people are comforted that this conversation is taking place and their island is included. Okay? Sometimes we do not know how far that goes, but we speak about the ripples, the ripple effect of an action or of a comment that is made. And when the ripple spreads, we do not know where it stops. It goes to oblivion. Okay? And that is why I sometimes I speak out of turn when I advise people about some of the things that they should not do. Like because I'm saying I am worried about the ripples. Okay. You know, not the present, you know, but the future. But
Mhm.
to a lighter note, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food. Oh, wow. Interesting. My favorite food. Okay. I am a foodie. Um, my favorite food. Wow. That's a good one because I can be very vain at times, and I watch my weight and I do watch what I eat. So I'm very particular in that sense. I'm a sweet and savory person, so I like desserts.
Okay.
I love a grape nut ice cream.
Okay.
Grape nut ice cream any day, anytime, after dinner, before dinner, lunch. Morning, I can have a grape nut ice cream. I love grape nut. So I'm a dessert girl. I don't know necessarily about dinners. Dinners, it depends on the day, I feel like. And it depends on my mood sometimes, if I want something heavier versus lighter. So well, let me say this. Let me say this. I'm also a breakfast person.
Okay.
People that know me know that I love a good waffle. I am a
Okay.
waffle girl. So I can have that any time of the day as well. If you
Okay.
ask me if I'm hungry, what I want to eat, take me get a really good waffle and I'll be fine. From a good diner at that. So we need a good diner as well. So yeah,
let,
that's me.
let me make it let me make it easy. What is your favorite spice?
Oh gosh, my favorite spice is nutmeg.
It has to be nutmeg.
Let's
It's
go
a
with
not you,
nutmeg.
you come from a nutmeg island.
Exactly. So you already knew where that was headed.
Yeah, of
I
course.
know you already knew the answer to that one. So that was a setup, but that was a good setup. You knew. Yep.
Anyway,
Nutmeg it is.
you know,
Nutmeg it is because you can put nice little slices of nutmeg in your oatmeal or even in your pancakes and
yes.
your teas, all of that. It's nutmeg is a good little spice. It can go in anything.
Well, I
It's a
had to
good
make
one.
you plug the nutmegs, okay?
Yeah, yeah. So there you go.
But your sister, I've seen
Yes.
you. When I see you and your sister, I mean,
Mhm.
you are so close. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Because
Absolutely.
I see so many
Okay.
pictures of you and your sister
Hmm.
together, together, together.
Hmm.
Tell me about it.
Well, we have a unique relationship. I feel like we've grown into because when as younger siblings, like any sibling, we
Mm.
always had our, whiffs, or she would come into my bedroom or want to sleep in my room, and I wasn't having it. But as we grew older and I got to know her a little bit better, and she changed her attitude, I brought her in a little bit closer. And we've learned how to work better with each other over time. Renee has grown into herself even more so
Mhm.
now as CEO at the Joseph P. Davos Family Health Centers. She's doing an excellent job there, just highlighting and uplifting the healthcare system, especially when it comes down to FQHCs, I believe is the term. She's doing a wonderful job restoring and bringing back to life that center, which she oversees five, which is
Mhm.
four in Queens and then one in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
She's been doing a lot of work just with her staff and just the infrastructure and operations as well. So I'm proud of her on that front as well. She's coming to her own in that healthcare industry. So she's a force to be reckoned with there. I can say that. That relationship continues to grow. We love each other immensely. We know that whatever we do, we work in coordination with each other because what we've learned from our parents is that we are stronger together
Okay.
than apart. So we make sure that whatever we do, we stay as close knit as possible because
Mhm.
we are stronger together than we are apart.
Well, one of the things that we could never get Roy Astick, your father, to do, Dr. Roy Astick, was to
Mhm.
run for political office.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we know he would have walked in. He would have walked in unanimously, but he
Yeah, but
had,
he but he also
he had a
knew.
mission.
Yeah, but he also knew the pitfalls of it as well, especially for the black and brown communities.
Uh-huh.
And I think for him, he knew that he can do much more
Yes.
outside of it. And so that's why he stayed away from it, just being in that space, because he
Yes.
knew he had more freedom to say what he wanted to say and to do what he wanted to do to make things happen. When you're in that space, especially black or brown faces in the space of power, in the space of influence, it can be tricky. We see it all the time. We
Yes.
see the pitfalls when it comes down to people that you and I know all the time. It happens to.
Yes.
These spaces you need a large amount of integrity, and also self-restraint. Discipline.
Hmm.
You have access to so many people, power, decision makers, leaders, stakeholders that can move not just a needle, but also move huge amounts of assets,
Hmm.
um, monies. And so you have access to so much of that. And when you have that, there are other people competing for wanting to be in that space. And I think that is the trouble behind when it comes down to getting in those spaces, especially Black and brown faces in those spaces. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that a lot of people want us in that space, and for good reason, because they want it and they will do anything to go after it and to get us out of those spaces, whether it is legit or not. Just being in this space for over 20 years, what I've noticed is that individuals will go so far to make things up and get you out of position just so that someone can get in.
Hmm.
Is it worth it? I don't necessarily think that it's worth it, that people go so far to do terrible things in that way in order to get someone out of a space so someone can get in. And I think from his perspective at the time, I think as a family man, as a husband, as a father, I don't think he was willing to risk all of that, knowing that he made a lot of decisions, power plays, move things just by where he was. So being in that space for him, it wasn't as important because he was still getting that work done.
I am pleased to hear you say that because it tells me that you understand this, your father. It tells me you understand Dr. Roy Hastick. Yes, he was a kingmaker. He never wanted to be a king.
Correct. He was
Yes,
humble enough. He was humble enough. And I saw him around those tables, right? I saw him around the tables of power. And I saw when he was speaking truth to power. And
yes.
it takes a lot of courage to do that. And when someone, someone told me a long time ago, one of my mentors, she said to me, she said, Camille, someone's going to own you one day. It's just what it is, but you get to decide who does that.
Yes.
And I think for my dad, he didn't want anyone to restrain his voice to
Mhm.
be able to talk truth to power. And
Right.
sometimes in those spaces, you walk a fine line depending on who you have to answer to. And
Right.
for him, he wasn't answering to anyone
Good.
except to the good Father up above.
And the
And
co-
for him, he
and
represented a
and the
community
community
and
and
the
the community
community.
and the community.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he wanted truth to
Yes.
always come out of his mouth as he represented his community. And in
Yes.
order to do that, you risk a lot. And he did that every day in the decisions that he made, but he held people accountable. I saw him do it, and he spoke truth to power, even
Yes.
in hard situations, even in spaces and places where I saw people clutch their pearls or sit up a little straighter when he would speak in
Mm.
those spaces. So, being witness to something like that, only encourages me because it showed me the type of man that he was, the integrity that he held so close to his heart, and how much the community meant to him, and how much he knew that he did not want anything to compromise that. So, and in order to do that, he had to stay true to himself.
You know, you speak from your heart, and your community is looking into your heart. So they will understand that you're going to go where you want to go, not where they want you to go. Okay? And in the process of doing that, they're going to respect and support. Respect, and with respect will come support. So I'm going to say thank you so much for this as a revelation that you have brought to us this morning. I am not going to make it too long because I expect there will be a continuation. So
Well, I
miss,
appreciate that, Trevor. Thank you so much for having me on. It's people like you, people like Faye Rodney, people like Mama Clark and Yvette Clark, who are leaders and examples to everything that I do. So thank you for your continued work and what you do to serve the community as well. So thank you for this opportunity. You didn't have to do it, but you did. So thank you for choosing me to be a part of your day.
Thank you so much for being our guest this morning. Thank
It
you.
was my pleasure. Thank you.